Hello everybody, it is Emily. In today's video we are going to be flipping through my 2020 bullet journal spreads, and we're going to start off with my very first bullet journal of 2020, which is this Leuchtturm 1917 in navy blue. To start off with, we have this 2020 intro page, and I made it to look like a Pantone swatch because one, that's trendy, and two, I wanted to celebrate the Pantone color of the year, which is similar to this Tombow color that I used. I wanted to start out with that because I thought it would be cinematic, but really I needed to flip back a few pages to show you my resolutions and also my plan for YouTube, which I may or may not have carried out. And then I have some positive affirmations because I guess I was trying to be more positive about myself. Really, I did need it, so good on me for doing that. Then we have this semester overview that didn't get used, and it's really funny because I planned some things that totally got canceled by coronavirus. But back then, we lived in sweet oblivion and bliss. This spread is fun to look back on because I actually had a lot of fun making this, and there's actually a video to go along with it that will be linked in the cards. I did actually make a plan with me out of this January setup, which I did after a very long period of not posting anything, and it kind of kickstarted me posting regularly-ish in my bullet journal. Oh, and as you can see, we have just gone from 0 to 60 in terms of bullet journal decoratedness. This is one of my favorite spreads. Looking back on these spreads feels really good because I can remember the passion that I felt while putting my creativity into them. Unfortunately, it didn't always last throughout the entire page, but it was usually enough that I could at least snap a couple of Instagram pics, and you know, that's important. February, I was a little bit indecisive, it appears, and it took 4 tries to get a cover page that I liked. I was experiencing some journal block, and I barely even used my spreads in some cases, as you can see. There were every now and then some spurts of creativity like this rose here. I thought that was something I was proud of, but I don't know, I just didn't end up having as much motivation as I had hoped. I had some more motivation for this spread, and I tried to incorporate more doodles in a more 2018-2019-esque bullet journal kind of vibe for M2DA. Oh, and also there's this section here for Paris because I applied to study abroad and I did get in, go me, but thanks to a global pandemic, it did not quite happen in the fall of 2020. Another odd and quirky thing in this odd and quirky little spread is this keto-enol rearrangement, which pays tribute to my time in organic chemistry that was very anxiety-inducing. But yeah, that kitschy little spread was a little too much effort for me, so I regressed a little bit in this one. And now we arrive at the cursed month. At least I did have a nice cover page for this, and I did actually make another plan with me out of this. And I'm basically exposing my guts here because I did not use the spreads that I made in many cases. Oh, and look, in this brain dump here you can see a lot of fun vestiges of the past year. You can see some very important turning points in my life through this brain dump, such as like me looking into graphic design and product design and thinking that I don't want to be pre-med anymore, which is pretty revolutionary for me in about March 2020. We also got a little study plan section because I was struggling really hard in organic chemistry. Glad I don't have to relive that anymore. And then we get into the March spreads, which were quite a bit different from what I'd been doing for the past couple of months. I basically did a rip of the setup you find in the Muji planner, because I thought that I might be switching to that after this bullet journal ended, although you'll see later that that was not the case. Honestly, I forgot how much I liked this spread for productivity because I liked having a running to-do list for each of the focuses of my life. Oh, and you can see here that this is when social distancing becomes part of our everyday vernacular. Honestly, that's the fun of including little tidbits of happenings in your bullet journal because looking back on it's just so much fun. While I did appreciate the functionality of this spread, I'm not sure why it just was hard for me to be creative in them. So as you can see, I left a lot of them blank and colorless. At the very least, it still functioned as something to corral my productivity into, so for that I guess it's still mildly a success. Although considering the fact that this did coincide with when lockdown was first starting, I feel like I can cut myself a little bit of slack. With that, this bullet journal comes to a sadly uninspired end. It makes me sad that it fizzled out like that, but I'll tell you what I decided to do. I decided to give it one more go and see if novelty would do the trick. Drop some medium to large buckaroos on this Rodeo web notebook, and I mean, you do get what you pay for. This paper quality is quite excellent. Here's my April cover page. It was inspired by the art on Eric Rippard's Bloom album. Honestly, it's not my finest work. I had some clouds that I hastily covered up with this like Van Gogh-esque noodle-looking sky of a thing. I was really trying to go with some more bright colors because I thought that perhaps I could psychologically game myself into having a brighter outlook. Here's just some more unfilled spreads, ugly spreads. It pains me to look back on these. Oh hey look, Dieball H, diabolical. It's honestly strange how much this is evoking the burnout that I felt around end of April. Now this free doodle page is probably the best idea that I came up with in April, and it was nice because it was okay if they were ugly, at least that's what I told myself, and it helped me have an outlet since I was really struggling with anxiety during this month. In fact, this doodle in the corner here is a depiction of how anxiety made me feel. Ultimately, 10 out of 10 would recommend. Here's another moderately sad looking page. I'm pointing out here that I planned for how I would improve as a dancer, because that's back when I still was really invested in that hobby, which I have since left. Clearly you can see that motivation was just not with me. This whole month honestly was pretty depressing in my bullet journal, which I think is reflective of my headspace as a person in that time. Oh, and May also does not have a cover page, so that is fun. However, May does have a calendar. Something I find kind of funny is how I wrote, "You are entitled to do nothing" after my finals, and that's actually when I read the Dark Artifices series by Cassandra Clare. Flipping the page, we just have some more planning and then some doodling. These are the precursors to what would later be my July page. Here's just another page that screams uninspired, but it leads into the next page, which is inspired. This is around when I started really feeling back in the groove of bullet journaling. I drew some doodles, and really this whole spread is based on doodles, and it felt really good. And now here we have a foreign language learning plan page. So this is where I planned my crazy language learning schedule. Here is another spread that I'm also proud of, and it makes me happy seeing spreads that I've decorated and that I find visually pleasing. I was definitely on top of my game at this phase in my life. And I mean, it was summer, so it was a little bit easier to do so. But clearly I jinxed myself because come June, the cover page is a little messed up. I definitely abandoned it. I tried a thing, and then I lost heart. Oh, and then you can see my mental health was taking a little bit of a blow. I tracked my mood during this time because it was really important for me to see how I was feeling, because I was struggling a little bit with that. This was a good idea of a spread. I liked doing the little cutout thing. It was quite effortful. And fun fact, that Wednesday was the first day I ever watched Studio Ghibli's Ponyo. Right, turning the page, we have another one of my favorite spreads. This one, I am honestly just such a sucker for like the brown, blue, beige, and cream kind of aesthetic. So I guess good job to past me. I was really exercising my design muscles, I guess. During this phase of my bullet journal, I definitely used a lot of pictures and a lot of like scrapbook-esque elements. And I think that's what I would do when I had the motivation to, but honestly, most of the time it ended up kind of like incomplete or piecewise, and that made me disappointed. At least I did manage to use it as a tool of productivity to an extent. I took my first Skillshare class over the summer and I wrote down a lot of goals, and honestly I don't think I fulfilled more than 30%. I am sick of looking at these uninspired spreads, so we're just gonna move on. Here things are starting to get a little bit better in terms of motivation. This is my Tuggy spread, which I did actually plan and make into a video, and I'm proud of that. This is actually a fun video to film because for the first time I think my voiceover had a lot more of my personality than it had in the past, and I don't know, I guess that I just see this as a hallmark of my journey in YouTube. This is a spread that has really good memories attached to it because it was actually featured in a Pass the Pen challenge that I did with Tiffany Studies and a bunch of other amazing creators on Instagram. I think this is a rather decorated spread, but for some reason I don't know why, but I just wasn't that attached to it. Same goes for the next spread, and then the one after. I think that my lack of attachment to the last spreads led me to try and change things up, but I didn't like the way that I changed things up. Perhaps I'm being really self-critical when it comes to these spreads, but I think that looking at them just brings back the mindset I was in, and I think it was an uncomfortable mindset for me to be in, which may or may not explain how I'm feeling now looking back at it. Alright, so this spread marks the start of the school year. I decided to have 4 months of calendars back to back because it actually made planning ahead for school so much easier, so definitely would recommend. Now we're arriving at August, which is somewhat of a new era in my bullet journal. This era is marked a lot by more doodles, I guess, and more drawing in my bullet journal as opposed to sticking things in it. I was definitely proud of the cover page, but honestly I kind of hate the rest of this monthly setup, and I can't really place my finger on why. I do kind of like this spread because the colors were inspired by Marie Kondo's book, and I also served as a sticker rep for the first sticker company that reached out to me, which was Study with Maggie's It's Paper Co. This spread is decorated, at least I do feel kind of meh about it, I can't tell why. I just feel like it's a little bit too cluttered. I tried the regression thing again with pictures, and I tried using some stickers to help me along, but my bullet journal block was sticking to me pretty intensely, and it was really hard to shake. This monthly reflection spread is honestly such a good idea, and I really appreciated looking back on it. Okay, this is just sad. let's skip past that. Basically, I didn't have enough room, even though I thought that I could write out the entirety of September. And then I ran out of room, so then I just put a plant next to it, and then I abandoned it. I'm so sorry to all the spreads that I abandoned. Like, Spread Protection Services is probably gonna come after me after this video, so it was nice knowing y'all. Okay, but at least I'm doing a little bit better on this spread. And I think it's because I innovated. I started using the little color blob things, which you can see carry over a little here. Fun fact, this is around when the West Coast was struggling with wildfires, so good air quality was something to be celebrated. This is also about the time that my obsession with Among Us was taking off too. I think the newfound social connection that I was having in Among Us was making me feel better as a person because my bullet journal spreads seem to be doing a lot better from this point on. October is the first time that I finally stuck a theme. Inspired by Today with Judy on Instagram, I decided to try out this little aesthetic blob thing that I keep seeing around a lot. I never really figured out how to do it well, and I realized that I couldn't do it because I was never trying to do it. So once I tried for a whole month, I started to notice that things were looking a little bit better, and I'm really glad that I had this experience because it really reminded me how important it is to learn from others. Shout out to Among Us again, and shout out to Among Us yet again. Here's my strip of bacon from my Among Us November plan with me, which is also a video up on YouTube that you could go check out. And Oh boy, what a month this was. We had the American elections, which was quite a time. School was also wrapping up for me, so I had finals. I basically wrote down everything that I needed to do for my finals, and although this spread is butt ugly, it was actually really helpful. So the rest of November is pretty simplistic. I have some blobular boys and just monochromatic spreads. And then for the last week of the last day of finals / Thanksgiving week, I decided to go a little more all out. So I drew some of the Among Us characters. This one definitely looks more like Amanda Rach Lee's spread, but I had fun doing it nonetheless. In December, I was determined to go out with a bang. And with a bang, I did go out. This is probably the best thing I've ever done for my bullet journal. It's the most I've experimented, and it's the most I've enjoyed bullet journaling in probably this entire year. Maybe I'm being dramatic, but I don't know, there's just something about it. Okay, well maybe I won't include this spread in it. I kind of abandoned this one, but it's fine. We won't talk about that. This was cool. This was a collaboration with Ariana from AAIRXT, I think that's her username. But this was so fun to do. Last but not least, we have the final spread of December, and boy oh boy did I go hog wild for this spread. Honestly, I'm really proud of this spread. I had so much fun making it. I really enjoyed how it turned out, and I felt like it was a really good system with like events on the top and tasks on the bottom. After this, there's not much, just a couple really exciting blank pages. And in the back of my bullet journal, I have a couple of glossary-esque pages where I just have notes to myself that I want to keep. And there you have it. Every last milligram of bullet journal planning that I did in the year of 2020. Thank you all so much for watching. If you're watching this on the upload date, then Happy New Year. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to support me, and I hope to see you in the future in more videos to come. Yeet! Damn it. Oh no.